Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today, the delicious Helen Skelton. How are you?
I'm good. Delicious. Wow, I've never been called that before.
You really are. Let me tell you why. I started watching you on the telly at the beginning of your career. But prior to that, of course, we both started in BBC local radio. That didn't do you bad, did it?
The best radio that there is outside of this, obviously.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you get all types on there and there's no budget and there's no production really. It's just you and a microphone and 3 hours of radio. You learn the hard way. But my God, when I watch you now on the telly doing Countryfile, you can see where your confidence comes from. It is that sort of BBC local training, isn't it?
I loved it. I worked in local radio for years, and I think for me it was just, I grew up in Cumbria, so I basically, when I look back, I just drove around Cumbria talking to nice people about interesting things, and obviously there were the occasional and, heartbreaking and dark stories, as there is in all forms of journalism, but it was just, a really nice place to work, a really nice place to be.
Do you know what I love about you? You keep it classy. You don't seem to do nonsense. All the stuff you've done has been credible. Was that a deliberate decision? Because it would be easy to go the route of others who choose to get headlines and then sort of quickly forgotten.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's so easy to kind of overthink, this industry and read too much into things. And ultimately, I have 2 little kids now, and I love them to pieces. So for me, everything I do at work, I kind of need to know that when I go back in the house at night and step over the threshold, that I can say, guess what Mummy did at work today? And that for me is my kind of measuring stick. I'm doing a thing at the minute where I'm filming a lot in a zoo, so my eldest son thinks that is the best thing in the world. I'm like, guess what, today I fed a hippo. And then for the first time in my life, I've got more, cool points than his dad. So he's like, yeah, Mummy, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wash a giraffe. So mum points for me.
I think that should be the name of your autobiography. I wash a giraffe. That'd do very well. That'd do very well. Travelling with kids, of course, can be a problem. Let's do this bit. I know that you're doing a campaign today, because that's the tough bit. Are we there yet? Are those classic words that will be said from time at the beginning to the end of time, I suppose?
I travel a lot with my children. Just the nature of my work, the nature of the way we live, and we lived abroad for a few years, and so mine are 1 and 3, and I travel a lot with them, and it can be stressful, and it doesn't need to be. That's why I've been working with Amazon Prime Video, to make sure that you can go with a sort of back catalogue of titles, TV programmes, films on your tablet, on your phone, that you can distract them with, that you can entertain them with, because at the end of the day, if your kids are happy, you're happy. And a 5-hour train journey, a 6-hour car journey, 3 hours on a flight, all of that can become fraught when it doesn't need to be. I think a lot of people spend all year building up to their holiday, that kind of 1 or maybe 2 weeks away, where they get a break, they get to have some family time, they get to have some quality downtime. You don't want to start that with a massive argument because people are bored or kicking the person in front or fed up or tired or whatever. So if you can keep them entertained, that just takes the sting out of the start of the holiday and makes the whole thing an enjoyable experience. That's what this is about as well.
And expecting a kid to go from Carlisle to Land's End and not get bored is completely ridiculous. So what are your biggest tips? What are the best things to give them to distract?
I think have a big variety of stuff. So my son loves to think that he's in control. Of course he isn't. He can only watch stuff that I have downloaded, or if we're somewhere where we've got Wi-Fi that he can stream. But I get loads of stuff that I'm happy for him to watch. And then he can pick. And then he thinks he's in control. And he'll watch that for a bit, and then we'll maybe play I Spy. Or he'll watch something for 20 minutes while I'm dealing with his brother or sorting out something to do with the travel. So it's just a good way of him kind of like dipping in and out, avoiding tantrums, avoiding the arguments, because they all come along when kids are bored and tired and then need distracting. So for me, it's about having a good variety of stuff. Make sure that you've got a lot of charge. Make sure that you've got an alternative as well. So my kids love a ping pong ball or bubbles on the road. And I'll never underestimate the power of bubbles with kids. It doesn't seem to matter how old they get. Just make sure they're under 100 millilitres if you're getting on a plane. You don't need to be unpacking bags at that point. Just have a few things up your sleeve so that you can distract them. It's amazing how many parents are put off travelling because they worry about kids getting bored while they're travelling.
Yeah.
Half of parents say they're more worried about that than losing a passport or printing their boarding passes.
Well, and you don't want to be the parent next to the guy like me who isn't with the children, who wants to punch them because they're screaming and pushing my chair on the plane and all of that. You just want to really get from A to B as painlessly as possible, and I suppose that's what this is about.
And it's not just about kids. I mean, do you want to sit on an aeroplane and stare at the back of someone's head for 6 hours?
No, but what I do you want my little tip? 3 Nitol, Helen, that does me marvellous. Wake up the other side, a stewardess banging me on the head to wake me up, and then you carry on with your holiday. It's wonderful.
Probably a little bit controversial, though, if you took that approach with the kids.
Yeah, well, I don't know, though. It can work. Just, in the sippy cup, just a little one. Maybe just a quarter of a...
I was distance myself from that comment.
I was looking at your pictures the other day in Hello magazine, and it looks like you've got the dream life. I mean, you and Richie look absolutely happy. You've got the kids. You're all, as I say, delicious. It looks like a dream life. How tough is it?
My kids eat nothing but organic vegetables, go to bed every night at 7 o'clock. They never fight. Yeah, unfortunately, those pictures aren't quite as glossy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. How different is the reality? Being a working mum, keeping a husband happy, keeping the 2 kids happy, earning money, getting to school on time, making sure that they're fed and not hungry. It is a struggle, isn't it?
Oh, my job's no different to any parent's job or any working mum. It's always a juggle. My friend phoned me crying the other day and she was like, no one tells you about their guilt. And I was like, yep, no one tells you about the guilt. Because we live in a world now where, because of social media, we compare ourselves all the time, don't we? We think like you just said, I looked at those pictures and I think your life's ideal. But that's a picture in a moment of time. It's not real life, is it? And I think anybody who really thinks that is probably maybe being a little bit naive. Like, it's just real life. Mine and Richie's life is no different to anybody else's. We have a 1 and a 3-year-old who constantly want to tackle, and they only want the same car to play with, and they of course want to have every meal with a side of chips and tomato sauce, and they want to go to bed at midnight as opposed to 7. It's the same thing that everybody else deals with. It's just we sort of do our job in the public eye. And I think you just have to, whenever my friends stress about what they're doing in parenting, have I done this right? Have I done that right? I'm almost like, guys, we just need to back ourselves a bit, try and make sure the kids laugh more than they cry in a day, make sure that they're fed, watered and entertained, and then, you know what, that's a good day. That's a successful day in my eyes. And
let's just talk about Countryfile for a moment. I think people forget how big that show is. I don't know whether it still is. When I was at the BBC a few years ago, it certainly was the number 1 show of the weekend, and often the number 1 show of the week. It's phenomenally popular, but it does it in such a humble, quiet way, doesn't it? It's incredible.
Yeah, I think it does. I think the thing that I always say about Countryfile is people say, why is it so successful? It's a farming programme. Why are 8 million people watching a programme about farming? For me, and I've been part of that show for 8 years, the people who make it are some of the best in the business, like the best researchers, the best producers, the best writers, and they find good stories and good pictures. And
it looks beautiful, doesn't it, as well?
Is, like, I think they put that money on screen and it really, really shows. And quite often the team don't get the credit they deserve. And for me, I'm always really keen to kind of remind people that there's a team of people who scurry about the country week in, week out, finding good stories and finding interesting characters and finding nice locations. And they're the people who deserve the credit for what is, quite frankly, a phenomenon. Yeah,
and do we worry about you being paid the same as Matt, or do we just get on and do the programme? I notice, again, you keep it classy with all that and tend to stay out of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right, I do.
Very wise. Helen, you're one of my favourite people. You're so charming on screen, and I think people should look at you as a role model because you keep it classy and you do great work. Thank you so much for your time.